Hello, friends. Welcome to today, the last live transmission from me from this 3-day free little hangout that we've had to get serious about the lives that we're creating for ourselves every single day. Our subconscious is always reprogramming itself. Are we doing this intentionally? Most of us. Likely not. I know I wasn't until I learned all of this. So it's been an unbelievable honor to teach you things that absolutely can and will change your life if you're using these things. Heads up before I dive into today, in neighborhoods like these, there is always somebody with their lawn maintenance crew going at it. Luckily, it's not me today. Next door neighbor. So if this gets to where you really can't hear what's happening in terms of what I'm saying, please let me know. Or if it's like a drill in your brain annoying, please let me know. They were right beside my house recently, and I was like, please, please, please let them stop. I'm going to open this up again. It's not letting me see. Facebook is a little not my favorite in terms of going live here. It's not allowing me to see you guys who's here. If you're here live, please put live in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, please throw replay in the comments. And again, a number 1 if you can see me and hear me. Jolene, hi. I'm watching us. I'll be looking at the comments on my end. All right, I wanted to start today with another story. I'll make it quick, though. A client I had 3-ish years ago now, gosh, maybe even 4 already, she was in a corporate environment, and she really, really, really wanted to manifest a position in her environment, and it was a very specific position at her company. Specific, okay? And there was one of these positions at her company. And the only way to get this position was to have a very specific promotion. Now, there is an interview process, so if you get accepted for this promotion, you still have to go through an interview process. So she says, I want to manifest this. I kept bringing her back to what it is she actually wanted. Remember, it's not the position at work. It's not even, I had someone asking me about passing an exam recently, 2 different people about passing an exam. It's not the exam that you want to pass. It's not the position at work. It's not the money, not the partner, not the car, not the travel. It's none of that. What you're really wanting is the emotional experience you'd be living if you had that thing in your present moment. The only reason we want anything we think we want is because of how we think it will make us feel. So I kept bringing her back to that. And I kept saying, you can't decide the how. And it's not just the how to make this position at work happen, right? It's you can't decide the how of your life experience in terms of what you're going to bring to you to give you that emotional experience. And if you were able to have that emotional experience in another way, would you still not want it? You know? So we went over and over and over this. So I had her doing the specific protocols that I teach to match the frequency. So she's matching the frequency. And sure enough, she gets asked about having an interview for this position. I always take these things with a grain of salt, because if you can predict the how, that's not how it's going to happen if you're properly manifesting. So if you're using matter to create matter, yep, you can predict the how, and you're going to have to work at the how. For example, let's say someone wants to lose weight. They can work at that using matter, so changing their diet, working out, going balls out towards that. They're not really going to keep it if they don't become the person who's just naturally going to live that way anyway, but that's besides the point. So I said, please don't get your hopes up, you know, because if you can see how it's coming, it's not from the unknown. And if you're using energy to create matter, it has to, it must, and it can only come from the unknown. So she's sure that this is how it's going to happen, right? So she goes through the interview. Does not happen. She does not get selected. Somebody else fills the position, and now she's dreadfully upset about it. Rightfully so. It would be upsetting, of course. But instead of beating ourselves up, what are the 3 steps that I taught you yesterday in yesterday's transmission? Step 1, what is everything you can be grateful for that exact situation right now? So she wrote the different things she can be grateful for. Well, she still has this great job. Now she can look at other things, other, different opportunities. Maybe she wouldn't have really liked that, whatever. Less stress, having to change positions, whatever she wrote for herself. Number 2, what is everything you can do with what you currently have? She could, if she wanted, look online for some other position in some other company. She could, whatever on her end, okay? Number 3, can you get yourself into a state of positive expectation about what's to come? It's the hardest step, but she did it. She got herself, because I used this whole list of statements that I attach scientific meaning to, because knowledge, like Joe Dispenza always says, knowledge is the precursor to experience. If you have enough knowledge, you will go all the way into the experience. So she had enough knowledge from my teachings to back up all the statements that I gave her, and she used the statements to pull herself into that state of positive expectation for what was to come. Then, fast forward, this is later, it's about a month later, like a little bit later into the summertime. And her husband's away, and it was before the winter. It was at the end of summer, winter was coming. So, I'm just laughing because Game of Thrones, if you know, you know. So, winter was coming, and so her husband and her were periodically going up to their cottage to get ready to close down the cottage for the season. And she randomly, one day that she was not even supposed to be going, her husband was away, he couldn't go with her, so she decides, you know what, I have today off, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to drive out there just to pack a few things and clean. She wanted to clean it up, and then next time when her husband comes, they want to stay as long, yada yada. She had her reasons. So she takes the day off and decides to have a me day by herself, spending time with yourself. Remember? It's important, not just by yourself. And so she decides to drive out there in silence to spend time with herself. It's about a 2-ish hour drive. And then she sees this guy who she knows from their community but doesn't know him, and he's fiddling on the side of the road with a trailer that has a sea-doo attached. So the sea-doo is on the trailer, he's trying to fiddle around with it to connect it to his truck, whatever. She has the same-ish contraption at home, so she thinks to herself, split second, I'm just going to see if he needs any help. I'm just going to, ask him if he needs help. So she goes and asks him if he needs help. He knows her husband, so they start chatting, and she's talking, and how's everything, and whatever. I'm going to make this a long story short, because you're not going to need to know all those fine details, but he ends up mentioning that he actually works for this other company, and they have this position that is available. Not the same position, it's a different position, but rewind to my coaching session with her when I was trying to get her to pinpoint why she wanted this position. It's not the thing we want, it's the deeper why. What is having that position at work going to give you? And she said, oh, well, I'll have more time, less time at work, because I'll get paid more money for less time working. I'm going to have time on the road, so I won't be stuck at my desk. Inadvertently, I'll have less time to spend with my husband and my kids. So he ends up telling her about this completely different thing, and how she was telling him about her experience that happened at work, and he was telling her, oh, I actually have this thing opening up, whatever. Basically, she ended up with a position from this guy at his company that offered her the exact same things she wanted. More time with her spouse and kids because she's having more money for less hours, more time on the road. It was another job on the road. She could leave the corporate environment, which was actually soul-sucking for her. She had just worked her life getting there, right? So all to say, he, at the end of the day, wasn't meant to be there that day either. He went up randomly to get some things done for the exact same reason that she did, and because something was broken on his trailer hitch hookup thing, she ended up at the exact same time intercepting that on her journey, because she happened to leave at the same time in the day to end up there. How could anyone have predicted that? you know? There it is. And I think she actually ended up making more money at that position. So if you're really worried about passing a test or whatever the heck it is for you, please know you will never predict how it happens as long as you're matching the frequency. So that's today's story. Hello, John. Welcome. Paula, hello. Mike, Valerie, awesome. Look at our group today. That's wicked. Okay. Now I'm going to get on to what I was talking about. Love the relatable stories of amazing universal alignment, right? Oh my gosh, there are so many. Like, I have been doing this now for a lot of years. I have so many stories. It's just always a fun way to start it. It's inspiring, right? It reminds us what really matters. That's important. Okay, so this is the final day of the manifestation reset. You have been with me now for the last 48 hours, and you know by now this has not been about vibes. It has not been about vision boards, affirmations, any of that, right? It's been an architectural audit. Yesterday, we identified why most of us are exhausted. That difference between hustling out of survival and commanding from authentic sovereignty, aka inspired action. Today, I want to close that loop. I want to talk about how to make this shift permanent so you don't have to keep resetting every time something knocks you off course. You don't have to keep resetting every Monday when the weekend's over, because we always feel better on weekends, right? You just shouldn't have to continue to reset yourself. You should live there. Manifestation is not something you do. It's a state of being that you live from. It's just free. It's so freeing. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this. If I go back to 5 years ago, 7 years ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago, me, and someone said this all would be the case, I can't fathom that from then. Like, I go through my days and I just know things are working out for me. I just know it. It's a knowing, right? And when something shitty happens, like the house situation I told you I had gone through a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, that it's okay. I've got those 3 steps. I know exactly how to match a frequency. I have tools to get me into the state of positive expectation. So it's not that things aren't going to continue happening in your life. Remember, there is no magical end point. You're never just going to wake up one day and nothing ever throws you and you don't react anymore to life. Of course I react, but I know how to shorten my emotional refractory period. I know what's worth reacting to and what isn't. I can get ahead of it now, and when something does happen, I perceive the circumstances from a totally different state of being, meaning I have a totally different perception of the circumstances. It's never the circumstances that matter, only your state of being matters. Who are you being? If you are wanting to create something in your physical self, your health or mental health, if you want to create something in your life externally, are you the person who would naturally live that way mentally and emotionally before it happens? And there's a massive misconception, that whole I'll believe it when I see it premise. That comes from Newtonian physics. We live in the quantum physics world over here in my work, right? So we use quantum principles. Newtonian physics was disproven more than 200 years ago now. So it's pretty amazing when you really grasp this and you start to use it and you start to see it working. It's incredible. You have to be in the state of being in order to perceive the things in your life differently. I'm also going to make a post later about the healing loop that I see so many people get into, where they're trying to heal their traumas, heal their past, heal their inner child, take away their triggers, and there comes a point, like, your triggers are going to continue to pop up. Your brain has them programmed. So you can heal all your shit from the past. The triggers are still going to pop up. But when they pop up, are you identifying as the person who still needs to heal? Or are you identifying as the person who is now healed and just saying, oh, there's that old pattern. Thank God I'm not that person anymore. Moving on with the day. You know, there is a spot there for all of us. And yeah, doing that work is helpful, but when you get to this place, are you stepping into your new identity? Are you allowing yourself to? Because there, and I always tell people there is no magical end point, so that people can understand they don't have to keep trying to heal themselves and fix all their patterns and programs to get to this place where shit just doesn't happen anymore. It will. But who is it happening to? That's what really matters. So, open your reset guide to page 4, the frequency audit. Of course, mine are still out of order. Oh, come on. The frequency audit. Look at the command/integrated column. Most of you are professional students. You have the information, but information is just noise until it becomes integrated. Knowledge just lives in the conscious mind, which is only 5% of the equation, until it becomes embodied. Is it embodied knowledge? Is it integrated information? The reason your life feels like it's still buffering is that you're still visiting your new life during a 20-minute meditation while you fall asleep in bed at night, but you're living in your old life for 23 more hours of the day. You're treating manifestation like an event, but it's not an event. It is a biological standard. That's how I treat it. So manifestation is simply a delay between a signal and the physical result for us, right? That's what time is here. We are only here seeing anything in physical form or bodies or objects because they are vibrating at the slowest possible frequency. So when we create something, yes, it can happen instantly. It happens instantly vibrationally. It immediately exists in frequency form. Now, when you match the frequency, it will come to you, but there is a bit of a delay between the signal and the physical result in your life. So when you react to your current reality, when you see the bank account or the symptom in your body or the empty chair you want your soulmate to be sitting in, and you let it change your frequency, you've restarted the delay. And people will say, well, Kelly, this is realistic. This is my in the red bank account. It's realistic. This is what's real. Is it, or do you not just have enough information about everything else that's real, including the quantum field? It's scientifically proven, you know? And of course, I'm not saying completely ignore your reality, but how are you treating your reality? Because you could be in the red in your bank account and be hopeful about it, thus projecting a different frequency that draws you to what you want. Or you could be in the red of your bank account and feel hopeless about it because you're so focused on the 3D that you're completely ixnaying all the power you have to really change it. And it's just that you can't see how it might change. Well, I've been looking for a job. I haven't been able to find one. Like, looking at the current circumstances, and really, I have a lot of people. I choose not to coach people like this anymore for my own sanity, and bless them, not knocking anyone. I have been there in my past, but I'm over here now where I want to coach the people who understand this, and they just want help making it work so that they can just do it on their own happily ever after, right? So there are people I used to coach who every single coaching session, it was just me trying to help them as they argued for their limitations and tried to prove to me why it wasn't going to work and why they were really screwed in whatever situation they were in. And I'm over here yelling, come this way, you know? And so the reason I have all these amazing stories now is because I changed that. And I said, I'm going to work with people who aren't in that place anymore. And when those people have moved over to where they fully understand and are ready to get going with this, we go together until they go on their own, right? This is why I have all these awesome stories, because it happens fast for people. Like that woman with the Sea-Doo story, that was about a month that happened from when she really wanted to get serious about it. And then the woman that I talked about in yesterday's video with that crazy situation where she ended up with a whole new exact same scenario group of friends that she wanted, that happened in, I think it was roughly 2 weeks. And then in the first video on 2 days ago. I talked about my own situations there and how fast it can happen. 5 days, like it's quick. Okay, so you don't want to be restarting your delay all the time, though. The integration I'm talking about is that ability to look at the 3D fact and hold the 5D truth so firmly that the physical world has no choice but to rearrange itself, because it's true. It's how it works. It's scientific. Okay? You aren't waiting for the world to change so you can feel safe. It doesn't work. You're not waiting to lose the weight so you can feel like the version of you mentally and emotionally who weighs less. You can't wait until your bank account is full to feel abundant, because you're going backwards. And if you're going with that mentality, you are in Newtonian physics, where you will have to use matter to change matter. You don't have an option. You're either here or you're there. And yeah, there's a dance between working with what's around us, working with matter, and energy, frequency, and vibration. But if you're over here thinking, I need that before I can feel mentally and emotionally this way, firstly, that's completely contradictory to neuroscience as we know it. And secondly, you will have to use matter to change matter. And it takes a hell of a lot of effort. You can do it. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot more time, and it's rarely ever, I've actually never seen a permanent case. So just going to throw that out there. I will get asked all the time, how do I stay in this, though, when my life is really loud? That is a skill. That took me a bit to learn. And the cold truth about this is you will never be able to willpower your way into a new frequency if you're staying in an old environment, physically or mentally and emotionally. It's very challenging. You can do it mentally and emotionally while you're physically in an old environment. It is possible. But only mentally and emotionally. You will never be able to think your way there. You'll never be able to really think your way out of a problem in terms of quantum ways of living, energy, frequency, vibration. You'll never be able to willpower your way there. Willpower is a finite resource. That's proven. So if you want to stay regulated, if you want to stay in command, you really need to upgrade your daily wiring. And so that's why I built the integration suite. I'm not here to sell you on it. I'm just saying, like, I created what I did in my life because I thought I really wish I had something like that when I was struggling so hard, because I was on my own. Like, I had Joe Dispenza books and courses and retreats and Abraham workshops and these things, of course. But I never really got a handle on, okay, what if I don't want to meditate every day? What if I don't want to do breath work? What if I don't channel anything? What if how do I really make this a tangible reality in my life that I can live in without going to visit the meditating and going to visit the journaling and going to create a vision board? And all of those are visits, they're visitations to your ultimate reality. So I created a sanctuary, a world that people could live in with me, where we do this together every dang day, and it's awesome. So it's not a classroom. You don't need any more info. You don't need any more knowledge. And maybe you do, and it's there for those that do, but it's really efficient and easy to learn. It's not all this scientific stuff. It's the gym where we train our biology to hold this voltage every single day until it becomes our default setting. Okay, we have spent 3 days diagnosing the glitch. Put your biggest aha moment in the comments from the last 3 days, because I'm curious. It is time, now that we've diagnosed the glitch, to move into the repair. I'm just laughing because I forgot. My dog doesn't know the word walk. I could say walk all day long. Do you want to go for a walk? He will not. He doesn't care. But if I say the word T-I-M-E, he starts freaking out. So he's sitting over there like, is it time? Are we going? It's hilarious. So for those of you that know you're 95%, your subconscious and your nervous system need a total rewire, my doors are always open. You just need to do the daily work, okay, to ensure that those leaks stop making sense to your system, because that's what will happen. Remember the neuroscience lesson I taught yesterday with the brain cells and the antennas on them. When you do this enough, you have to do it consistently enough that you are on a different frequency. Remember, your emotional state of being, your dominant state of emotion, is your dominant state of being, and your dominant state of being is always your dominant frequency. So if you make your dominant frequency by doing these things that work for you personally, daily, you will get to a point where you have enough brand new receptor sites that are on a totally different frequency than you used to be on. Okay, I remember when it happened for me, because like I shared yesterday, I had a really bad time with severe anxiety and panic and depression in my life. And a long time ago, I had a kidney infection. This is going to be quick, but it's an interesting story so that you can kind of get a gauge of this. I had a kidney infection, and they gave me a prescription, like an opiate prescription for this. And I remember the feeling when I took those pills of like, that feeling that just washes over you of like calm and warmth and whatever. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh gosh, now I can understand why people really like this stuff. Years pass, and now I'm into all this stuff, and I'm working away at this in my own mind every dang day, really trying. One day I woke up, and usually when you wake up, your brain is designed to start going over your problems. You go through theta into beta. Low beta is where your brain is when it's just going about the day. High beta is a high stress state. So your brain goes into beta quick in the morning, where it starts going through its day, but it starts going through its problems. What's most familiar? What do I have to be careful of? What do I have to watch out for? If your nervous system is in a survival state, you're going to be automatically trying to get ahead of whatever problems might exist. So I woke up this one morning, and it had been several months, I would say 6 months, like maybe half a year of doing this work consistently. And I woke up so happy and calm. I felt it was bizarre. I remember thinking to myself, this is what those pills felt like that I had taken those years ago. Oh my gosh. And I remember how much it caught me off guard because it was so abnormal. But I hit a place, and it's not always going to be a flash moment like that because your receptor sites change bit by bit over time, but I finally hit a place where my brain was not the same anymore. My anxiety was gone. I no longer reacted emotionally in the same way to the exact same circumstances that used to make me react really emotionally and really badly. So that's what we want to do for you, is make these leaks stop making sense to your system so they simply stop happening. So I do have, and this is not a part of these 3 days, by the way, I'm just letting you know, I do not offer anything in the suite publicly, but I am doing this one because I'm going to be transparent with you. I needed to completely re-record this whole guided authenticity immersion experience that I have for suite members. Now, I was already like planning all this 3 days, and I thought it was cool. So I was like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if more people could experience really connecting with their inner being, higher self, authentic self? That would be, I'm going to open that up. So I opened it up. You do not need a suite membership to take part in this. What I will be doing is using theta brainwave frequency music to alter your brainwaves and put you in a theta state, which is where your subconscious is the most reprogrammable. It's the most suggestible to new information. And we're going to connect you directly with your inner being, higher self, authentic self, your truest authentic self underneath. Because we have so much patterning and programming going on within us and within our minds that we don't really often even have a connection with our authentic selves. Do you know how many moms I've worked with, because being a mother is such a big thing, and you have this other human, or plural, other humans that you're looking after, right, that are a part of you, that you lose your identity. You just don't remember your authentic self anymore. You don't have that connection. I have high stakes, high corporate people that are in my one-on-one mentorship where they don't remember their authentic self anymore. So a lot of people don't really even know what they want because they don't have that authenticity, that connection to their authenticity. So that's what this experience is. I'm also going to offer tools so that you can do this on your own ever after. It's $22. And if you want to experience that, let me know. I will be having limited seats for that because it's It's very special. But we're going to drop the conscious mind. We're leaving it alone. That 5% that always tries to take over, not invited to this experience. And we are going to let your biology receive the new signal. So let me know if you want the link to that. I will send it over to you. You can comment experience below, or you can send me a DM, or just comment that you want to check out the Authenticity Immersion experience. However you want to say it, just let me know if you want the link. Your final homework is simple. Stop being a student and start being the architect. You have enough within you to do this. You know enough to do this. Look at one area of your life today and say, am I visiting this result, or am I inhabiting it mentally and emotionally? Okay? Drop the word integrated in the comments if you are choosing to stop the dang buffering today. That's just for fun. I have so loved, truly loved, and have been so honored to spend this time with you over the last 3 days. I will be heading back into the suite henceforth. The 3-day reset is over. But for the architects in here, which is hopefully all of you, the work is just beginning. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to briefly go through the comments and just make sure that there are no questions yet. Hi, Paula. I stopped doing the healing as it brought me back to emotions I didn't want to be in. Yeah, that's a very... Now, I am not knocking therapy, because therapy can be amazing for people. So just putting that out there, not knocking it. But a lot of therapy practices focus on the past. It focuses on why we are the way we are. It doesn't focus on who you're becoming. It focuses on trying to fix and dismantle things, and I love therapy. I take part in therapy sessions with a therapist, my mentor that I trust. And I think it's great, but I'm very much focused on who I am and not who I was. I know those patterns. Every now and then they peek out if something drastic happens, and I recognize it. Oh, there's that pattern. Wow, can you imagine? I used to feel like that so much. I'm so happy I am who I am today, and I just reroute. When we don't allow ourselves to actually become this person, your triggers continuing to happen does not mean you have not healed from them. That is a neurology issue. That is your brain programming that. Your brain is a prediction machine. So it tries to tell us, and that's what PTSD is. PTSD, I have seen many people overcome PTSD. That is not something you have to live with forever. Neuroplasticity has proven it. Psychology has proven it. It is not something you live with forever. What it is, though, is when something big, emotionally big, happens in your life, especially between the ages of 0 and 21 years old. Like, I mean, just born and 21 years old, if something huge emotionally happens in your life, your brain puts a stamp there. The bigger the emotional reaction you had, the bigger the stamp, and says, we need to watch out for this. And remember, your brain, your subconscious, has no clue on if something is happening right now or if it's a memory, if you have the emotional charge with it. So if you have an emotional response to something, your brain thinks it's happening right now. And so let's use a war, very sad example, but let's use a war analogy with the PTSD. So in the war, fireworks were bad news, right? It was like an announcement. And there are veterans that hear fireworks and their body fills with panic, their mind fills with stress and panic, because their brain is saying, this is probably that same thing. Remember that thing we went through. Remember how scary it was. Remember how big it is. What if that's happening right now? We have to protect ourselves. We have to get out of this situation. That is what PTSD is. It's that stamp. It's your brain thinking, because something reminded you of this. This happens in really abusive relationships as well. Someone might yell, and the victim, the person, they'll feel like they're still back in that situation, and their body will just fill with alarm. So, Barb, don't worry, you can watch the replay. Creating a new wonderful habit. Awesome, awesome. I'm so, so glad. My aha moment, Paula, hi. I appreciated the 3-step process to help us through when the 3D shows us the opposite of what we desire. Yes, that was a lifeline for me. I actually made that up. That's not something that I learned anywhere. I created it because I really wanted like a cut and dry, what can I do in the moment? Like I said, I'm a very left brain person. I like the science behind things. I want to be able to work with something. If something's too much of a woohoo concept, I will go to the ends of the earth to learn about what's happening under there. And it's so cool today that science has caught up to so many things, like chakras, the energy system of the body. Those were seen as a woohoo thing for so long, but I used the chakra system in my holistic health to help heal people, as well as physical health protocols. And it works amazingly because, for example, something like cancer is now, you can measure this. It will show up in a human's energy field on average 2 years before it shows up as a physical tumor. Just an example on how cool it is now that science has caught up to a lot of this and is being able to show a lot of this now. It's amazing. I have seen somebody grow back their thyroid that was completely cut out. That is scientifically impossible, right? But they did it. I've seen someone grow back a chunk of their colon that was removed, which is scientifically impossible in the allopathic medicine field, but they did it because of the information in the field. When you change the information in the field, you change matter. This is why we have phantom limb pain. And now they can, for example, cut a leaf in half, and you can look at this leaf under scientific instruments, and you'll see the outline of the leaf because the energy field is still there. It's incredible. When we are unable to stay in the state, it doesn't take us back to ground zero, does it? I think it's just a temporary hiccup that even though it may delay the result, it doesn't take us back to where we started. In other words, right? So it's asking, in other words, if we continue to inhabit the ideal identity as much as possible, that ideal state of being accumulates over time and eventually wins over the hiccup. I actually use a silly analogy for this one. It's just enjoy it. I call this the checkpoint. Remember old school video games, like I'm talking the OG Mario video games. If your character meets its demise, the game will send you right back to the beginning, unless you pass a checkpoint in the game. So, the receptor sites. If you have programs, patterns, your nervous system has been in survival for X amount of time, and you have not changed enough receptor sites on your brain cells to be in a new state of being as your default state, we are never going to be in a state of being permanently. It's not natural. We're never going to be a Pollyanna, ridiculous, happy every day, all day when terrible things do happen in life. People pass away, we end up whatever, right? But what is your natural default setting? So my example of when I woke up that morning and I had felt like so happy and relaxed that it was bizarre to me because it was for technically no reason. That was me noticing, oh my gosh, I have a new default state. And then I started noticing when things were happening in life, of course I got thrown, of course I reacted, of course I got depressed about things every now and then, and I've got, thrown off and things happen. But I completely perceived the situation differently, and my reaction to the situation was different. I noticed I didn't react. I noticed my emotional refractory period shortened automatically. Like now, if something really throws me, I could probably, I haven't really timed it, obviously, but I could say I'm probably regulated again within about 5-ish minutes. Like it's just, you just have a new default setting. That's a good way to put it, your default setting. So if you haven't spent enough time, like it just takes consistency. Our nervous systems and our brains have created their current state of being, default setting, with consistency over time. We were just doing it by default, not on purpose. So all we need to do is do the exact same thing and be consistent with it until it becomes our brand new default state of being, where you will get thrown off. Things will happen. You will see your triggers. Earlier in this, if you weren't here, just watch the replay, but earlier in this transmission, I was talking about when my old triggers might pop up, and I would look at that and say, oh, wow, I can't believe I used to live that way. I'm so happy I am who I am now. And I just would regulate. So it's about working at your emotional refractory period. When I first started this, something could upset me and throw me, and I'm so embarrassed to say this, but I can't be the only one. When it was really bad and I was suffering with anxiety and panic and depression, something would throw me off, and it would be days. Like, I would be upset for a couple days. And Joe Dispenza, I actually wrote a big thing in the integration suite about this, but Joe Dispenza talks about this. We could have a mood, and a mood becomes a state, and if we're in that state of being long enough, it becomes our personality, and then it becomes our identity, you know? Like, you could see someone at lunchtime at work and they're all pissed off. Well, what's wrong? Is someone cut me off in traffic? Stupid asshole, whatever they're saying. And I can't believe, like, someone did that to me, and it might be anything, but they're still upset by that. They feel wronged. Like, they carry the identity of someone who's always a victim. So it's who we're choosing to be, and when you choose to be someone new for long enough, you will become that person. So you will not go back to the beginning. There's actually a psychology thing I was reading. I study in my free time because that's how nerdy I am. But I was reading this psychology thing that was talking about actors, method actors, will take on the persona of their character for several months before filming begins to really get that down, right? And some actors need to go to therapy. This happened with Heath Ledger, who played the Joker. And he went to a hotel, and he stayed in a hotel for a few months. Now remember, 2 months on 2 months on 2 months, add that up, right? So he was in this hotel for, I don't know how long, a few months, and really being the Joker, who was a very psychologically unfortunate situation, psychologically character. And he had some struggles coming back out of that because his brain started believing that that's who he actually is. And with the physical nervous system, I have another example. So let's say your nervous system is physically in a state of stress a lot because you have trained it that way accidentally, because we're never taught. We react to things emotionally enough, it becomes a state of being, right? So let's say your nervous system has been in a state of stress for so long. So let's go back to the acting thing, and I'll just make up an analogy. Let's say that there was an actor going to get a role, and his character has a limp. So he practices having a limp consistently enough for long enough, his body will develop an actual physical limp. The nervous system imprints that. So we get to choose. We get to decide. I feel like if we have more momentum flowing to what we want, the opposite can't slow down too much. True. Very true. I love that you liked the checkpoints idea. All right, so that brings us to the end of today. If you have any further questions, throw them in the comments. If someone is watching this weeks after this has happened and the comments is full of questions, I will not have time. I have planned these 3 days to really be here with you, so I will be here in the coming week to look at questions. If you have any that pop up, just ask them. But I'm going to try to leave this up. If Facebook takes it down, I'm moving it over to my YouTube. So I have a playlist now on my YouTube channel called The Manifestation Reset, and that is where these videos will live henceforth. For now, until Facebook makes them go away, they will be in the featured section of this group. I cannot tell you how honored I am to spend this time with you, how much excitement I have for the things that will show up for you as you move through this. Again, if you want to take part in the integration suite, let me know. It's not a long-term thing. There's no contract. So if you want to pop in for a month and check it out, cool. Everybody has 100% control over their own membership, because I'm not like that, you know. I want autonomy forever. So you're welcome for a little time, a long time, as long as you want. If you want to check out one-on-one stuff with me, let me know. If you just have a question, reach out and ask. And I'm sending you so much love and good energy. And if anything cool happens, make sure you let me know. I had a couple people message me yesterday about cool manifestations that have happened. 2 people just overnight. So I'm thrilled. It's so exciting. My DMs are always open. Onward and upward always, and I will see ya in the group. Bye, guys.